Hello and welcome to another episode of Create, Lead, Live. I'm really thrilled and excited to have you with me today. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to lead your business from your heart and your spirit. And I think really this is just such an important topic for us to be talking about, and I probably weave threads of this through all of the videos and all the blogs and everything that I create, because I'm a deep believer that the outcomes in our business, the impact that we leave in the world, and the joy that we get from the work that we're doing all tracks back to that inner connection that we have with our spirit and our inner wisdom. And so in order for us to really create that business of our dreams, it's really helpful for us to have some ideas about how to connect, how to actually lead from our heart, how to lead from our spirit, and how to make it a priority ultimately in the way that we approach everything that we do in our business and in our lives as well. So the first thing that I really want to chat about is starting with this connection being your priority and making a decision to make it so. And it really is something that when you start with that decision, when you start with that priority or that focus, if you like, then it helps us to really create that as the foundation of everything we do. If we see it as kind of secondary or something that we do when we feel like it, or something that we see as just a part of the picture of our business, then it's likely that it will fall away, or we'll forget about it, or it will drop away, drop off from the way that we're approaching things. So it's really important to start with making it a priority and thinking about, how do you connect with your inner wisdom, your intuition, your heart? How do you do that? Like thinking about what works for you. It will be different for everyone. It's different for me, then it's different, for you. And so really this is about starting with you and your own connection strategies. What are the things that you do? Do you journal? Do you pray? Do you meditate? Do you love to go out in nature and go for a walk? All those kinds of things that help you to connect. Maybe it's listening to music, or reading or writing. It could be any number of different things, but it's really starting with it, reflecting and writing yourself a list of all the ways in which you connect with that inner wisdom and spirit, and then starting to think about, well, how do I build this into my business? How do I build this as a regular part of my business? And I've chatted about this recently in some other videos as well, like around spiritual rituals and routines can be a really helpful way of integrating your spirit and your heart into your business. So it's creating those routines and rituals in relation to your business that will help you to actually start to lead from your heart and your spirit. And another part of this is really about making that decision to lead ourselves through anything that comes up along the way. So as you start your business and as you run your business, what you will find is that all kinds of things will come up for you. A lot of it will feel like it's external. A lot of it will seem like it's things that are happening or not happening the way that you dream of. But when it comes down to it, when you really connect in with your heart and your spirit, you'll realize that a lot of the barriers that we face, or a lot of the challenges which come up along the way, are really our own internal barriers. Beliefs that we hold about how things should be done, resistance to doing things in different ways or new ways than what feels comfortable and normal for us. And really just acknowledging the role that our own inner world plays in the outer world that we're seeing in our business. And that in order to really step up and lead your business from your heart and your spirit, it requires us to kind of sit with some of this uncomfortable stuff. It requires us to kind of acknowledge the role that we play in the outcomes that we're receiving in our business. So it can be really easy in that spiritual world to kind of step back from responsibility, to actually say, well, spirit is leading and guiding me and I will follow as I'm inspired to. And to kind of ignore the role that we play in terms of stepping up, in terms of making a decision, in terms of deciding to actually lead, deciding to lead ourselves, deciding to lead our business, deciding to operate as a leader in the field that we're in, and all of those kinds of decisions which rest on us. They rest on us actually consciously choosing these things. Your spirit and your inner wisdom, your heart will guide and support you on the journey. But unless you're actually willing to make those hard decisions or commit yourself to the mission that you're on, your spirit will have a lot of trouble kind of guiding and supporting you on the journey. So a big part of this process is about how we lead ourselves. And one of the elements of leading ourselves is recognizing and having an awareness of the ways in which we can contradict ourselves at times. So we might say to ourselves that we dream of having an incredible, impactful spiritual business where we leave a legacy in the world, or we leave our mark in the world. We dream of creating amazing things that really make a difference to other people, but then we sit on our hands. We stay comfortable, we stay safe, we hold ourselves back from doing the things that we know we would be doing as we step up as that leader in our business, as that leader in our own lives. And so there's this kind of contradiction which can come in, which is really, really important for us to be aware of in order for us to lead. In order for us to lead ourselves, we have to recognize the ways in which we are blocking ourselves or holding ourselves back or stopping ourselves from moving forward. I actually shared an example of this week in a blog post, and it was an example of a vision that I actually had recently where I realized that, like, all of a sudden, this vision was of the experience I was having right now in the moment. This feeling of moving fast in my business, this feeling of being on the rapids of my business. So as an example, like, I guess, on that particular day, I'd been really moving fast. I'd been getting a heap done. I was really productive. I was really connected. I was really inspired. I felt very guided, and I just felt this amazing, incredible, sense of inspiration throughout my body. And at the end of the day, I was just really basking this feeling. I was really enjoying it and just experiencing it, I guess, at the end of the day, and thinking, wow, that was amazing. It was so different than that hustle kind of energy that we can get in where we're trying to force things or we're trying to make things happen. And I realized, I had this vision about myself being on the rapids of my business, like riding the rapids, the water flowing really fast. And that instead of hustling, I was actually flowing. I was flowing with the universe. I was flowing with that source of inspiration within me, and I was allowing it to just be. I was allowing it to flow through me. I was moving with it. I had this vision of me letting go, of me bringing my arms in and just allowing myself to really just flow on the rapids of life, and a sense of finally feeling safe to kind of go with whatever came, with whatever was ahead, whatever lay ahead on these rapids. I was going with it. And I realized that up until that point in time, I'd actually been holding myself back in various ways. And I think in ways over time, I had let go more and more and more. And this moment was a moment of reflection and awareness of how much I had let go. Like, I had let go to the point where I was actually riding this wave or this rapid of water without holding on at all, without holding on to anything, without stopping myself, just being willing and courageous enough to ride with it. And I guess, to me, this awareness of the ways in which we hold ourselves back, the ways in which we grip on, the ways in which we try to control, the ways in which we try to, I guess, force the situation to be safe and comfortable and for us to feel ready before we do things, is such a huge awareness to have. Like, being really aware of that enables us to start to let those things go. It enables us to start to trust ourselves more. It enables us to start to lead ourselves more through any resistance that comes up along the way, in order to serve at that higher level, in order for us to lead at that higher level, in order for us to operate as our highest self. And until we let those things go, well, until we have that awareness, it's very difficult for us to let those things go because we don't even realize we're doing it half the time. We don't even realize we're stopping ourselves or that we're making things comfortable. And then there's a part of us that knows that we're doing it, but we tell ourselves it's okay, or we reassure ourselves that what we're doing is enough. And it's like this inner contradiction which happens where we have a vision of the dream and then we have a vision of what we're comfortable with or what we're safe with. And we are always enough and everything we're doing is always enough. But there's also these contradictions which exist within the way that we operate, which are really useful to look at because they make us uncomfortable and we would much rather not face them. We'd much rather continue on the comfortable direction. But if we really do have a huge dream within our hearts, if we really do have this vision that drives us and motivates us and is what's leading us in the direction we're going, then how big would it be for us to let go of all the things that are stopping us, to release the things that have been holding us back, and to actually just go with that vision, to actually just ride that vision, to allow it to be the flow that we are following and riding, rather than holding ourselves back and making every turn that we take so much harder for ourselves. When we get into the flow, when we lead ourselves in this way, when we face our barriers, our blockages, our inner resistance, that is when we can actually create those dreams. We can move with them. We can enable them to happen. And so it's not necessarily that we are not doing a good enough job or that we're stopping ourselves from, achieving the dreams that we have, but it's that we're slowing ourselves down. We're holding on, we're holding back. We're allowing fear to guide us in some way or another. We're actually saying that, yes, I have this huge vision, but fear is putting the brakes on here. Like, it is causing that friction and resistance that is slowing me down and preventing me actually flowing with this vision and with this dream that I have of myself. And so, leadership is not just about following those feelings of connection. It's not just about connecting with our inner wisdom and following that. It's also about recognizing the areas in our lives of where we have trouble doing that. It's recognizing those areas in our lives and our businesses where we're choosing the path of least resistance, where we're choosing the path of comfort, where we're choosing the path of fear ultimately over that love, over that inspiration, over that clarity, over that confidence, over that, unbridled passion that exists within us, and being able to hold space for those uncomfortable moments, those uncomfortable moments of awareness where we don't like to believe that we could actually be bracing ourselves. We could actually be putting our arms out and actually resisting and stopping ourselves from following that connection, following that inner wisdom, or even allowing ourselves to connect in the first place, because we won't let our minds go there. We won't allow ourselves that space and freedom to dream as big as we really can dream, to imagine the vision as big as it really is, because we're resisting it or we're holding it back. And so I really want to encourage you at this kind of point in your journey to think about leading yourself as sitting not just with that connection and those good feelings and that reinforcing kind of energy of I can do anything, but also about allowing space for those uncomfortable feelings of I'm not good enough, of I'm not ready yet, that one day I'll be able to do this, one day I'll be able to create this, but it's not now. Like, really giving space for those feelings to exist right now, giving space for you to connect in with them and acknowledge them and nurture them and show yourself that kindness that enables you to resolve them, that enables you to heal them, that enables you to dissolve them, really, like to allow the light to kind of shine on them and show you these barriers and resistance and these challenges for what they really are, which is inner stuff that we use to excuse the way that we're operating, or to prevent ourselves from moving into the unknown, this scary unknown. And so I think, this is a really important part of this leadership element is being willing to connect with our inner wisdom and to follow that guidance and inspiration, but also to be willing to look at the hard stuff and to be willing to allow space for that. And to have this as part of your routine as well. So when I talked at the very beginning about creating routines that support you to lead from your heart and your spirit, part of that is creating space for all of it. Creating space for that connection with your inner wisdom and that inspiration to flow, creating space and routines and rituals around allowing space for those uncomfortable truths to come forward as well. As an example, like saying you really want to serve in a huge way, you really want to step up and lead in a huge way and make a difference in the world, but also at the same time not showing up, at the same time not creating things and putting them out into the world, holding yourself back until all your ducks are in the row, like getting all the qualifications that you think you need, or having enough money, or being able, having enough time, all those things that we tell ourselves are legitimate barriers. It's really about allowing space for you to process and work through some of that stuff so that it no longer has the power over you, so it no longer stops you, so it no longer prevents you from actually living that dream that you have. And the final point that I really wanted to talk about is the action taking. And I think this is a huge thing because, in all of the work that I do in my business, I really encourage people to take time to connect, take time out to do those things like we talked about at the beginning, like journaling, prayer, meditation, listening to music, getting out in nature, doing those things that uplift and inspire you, that help you connect with those good feelings. Like, this is the foundation of everything, is allowing that space for those things to be a part of your daily life, allowing your energy and your emotions to be a really high priority in everything that you do, in the way that you lead your business, in the way that you lead yourself. But it's the action that you take that gets you there. You can get up in the morning and say, I really want to lead my business from my heart and my spirit today. But then you charge on through the day, doing things that aren't necessarily going to help you connect. They're not necessarily going to help you lead from your heart and your spirit. They're the things that you're telling yourself you should be doing, or the things that you march into without really much conscious thought, because it feels like I should be hustling here, I should be doing more, I should be following these particular rules that have been laid out for me in order to create a successful business. And so the action is around aligning your action with that desire that you have to lead from your heart and your spirit. And the first action is about creating those routines for yourself, enacting them in your life, like actually doing them, making the space and the time to actually do those things and to prioritize them in your business, prioritize them in your daily life. But then also to prioritize the action that flows from those. So when you feel inspired to create a video blog, for instance, taking the next step to do that, to create that, to follow that inspiration. Because what can happen is we can feel really inspired and creative, and we have amazing ideas that we want to follow. And then our analytical mind kind of starts to chime in, and it starts to say to us, you're not ready yet. You haven't got the technology that you need to support this. You don't know what you're doing. You know, any number of different excuses that your analytical mind will come up with to prevent you moving forward. So what happens is that we take the action maybe to connect with our spirit and our intuition and inspiration, to connect with what's in our heart and what's calling us. And it leads us to another action that we then block. We then put our arms out and say, no, this connection part was really comfortable and it felt really good, but now hang on, this part feels really scary. This part feels really daunting and overwhelming. And so what happens is that we then don't take the action that aligns with what's in our heart or what's in our spirit. And when you don't follow your heart and your spirit, then you're slowing yourself down. You're not necessarily stopping it completely, or you're not necessarily, pulling the pin on your idea or anything like that. You're just slowing yourself down. You're saying, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. So you're kind of like you're closing the door on it, or you're closing that fence, that gate. You're saying, right now, I'm not ready for this, so I'm not going to do it yet. And it's the aligned action you take that helps you to flow. It's the aligned action which enables you to be in the flow. So those ideas that are coming to you, that inspiration that's coming to you, is coming to you for a reason. It's coming to you because it's what you're being called to do. It's that impact that you're being called to leave on the world. And that's not to say that you don't give yourself time, that you just leap in and just do it. It's totally okay to give yourself time. It's totally okay to feel your way into it. But to be mindful all the time and be aware of that there's times where we give ourselves more time than we need. There's times where we wait to feel ready. There's times where we wait to feel comfortable. We wait to feel safe to do something. But it's not through that process of just dreaming about it and visualizing it that we're going to feel safe. The safety is also about the doing. The safety is also about feeling comfortable with the doing of that thing. And it's only through actually taking the steps towards it, not just sitting still and dreaming about it, but actually taking the little steps, thinking about how can I make this easier for myself? How can I enable myself to flow with this? How can I create space around this for it to be okay for me to stretch, for it to be okay for me to challenge myself and move a little bit closer to this next step and this next step. So it's not about, overwhelming yourself with it and causing yourself huge anxiety or stress or worry about it. It's really about saying, well, this is the vision that I have. This is the dream, and this is the next inspired step. And yes, it feels scary and it feels a bit overwhelming for me. So how can I support myself to move through this? How can I help myself to grow and develop and become more comfortable with this through the simple act of doing it, through the simple act of taking steps towards it? So it's not necessarily about pushing the feelings that you're having away. It's about sitting with them and nurturing yourself through them, and acknowledging that this vision is what it is, and that in order to get there, it's about taking that aligned action. It's about taking those steps and about doing the things that enable that to be easier and easier and easier for you. And one of them is about aligning the action with the vision that you have, so that there's that congruency between what you say you want, what you dream of, and the impact that you want to leave in the world, and the actions that you're taking. I want to give an example here. And this is something which inspires me all the time. Whenever I find myself holding myself back, and it happens all the time. There's always situations in where we hold ourselves back. There's ways in which we're inspired and we're flowing, and there's elements of what's unfolding where we're holding ourselves back, because there's always going to be more and more that's going to come up for us on the journey. It doesn't matter at what stage you're at in your business. There's always going to be more for you to process and heal and deal with and resolve. But this process of kind of allowing space for that and allowing yourself to move forward is really what is, the journey in and of itself is really about a journey of self-discovery and self-leadership. It's a journey of recognizing of not just who you are and who you, that inherent value that you bring to the world, but the dream that you have and that vision that you have of yourself. And an example that I like to use of this is, for me, at various stages in my business, I look at, and I'll write a list often of people that I admire or that I'm inspired by. I'll think about people in the business world who are deeply passionate about what they do, who are contributing to the world in incredible ways, who are stepping up and are there as true leaders in that space. And I look at what they're doing. I look at the action that they're taking. I look at the way that they're showing up. I look at the courage that they're bringing to all they're doing. You know, I can give you some examples, like a Brené Brown is one example that I use all the time. A Gabby Bernstein is another example of a spiritual leader, someone that I look to for guidance on how does someone that's stepping up and leading and operating at that level, what are they doing? How are they behaving as the leader of their business? So it's not just about how they connect with them, you know, that spirituality, how they operate in the sense of healing themselves and their kind of action that they're taking to connect to their spiritual side, but what's the kind of action they're taking as a leader? Like, how are they leading themselves? Then, you know, are they holding themselves back and not doing certain things because it's more comfortable? They probably are. But what are they showing in the outside world? How are they leading themselves? They are leading themselves to show up for their audience in a way that challenges them. They're doing things that might feel uncomfortable. They're doing it for the greater mission that they have. They have that vision of that mission being far more important than any doubt or fear or internal barriers that could come up. And I'm sure that for each of them, it's been a journey of self-discovery, like it is for all of us, of taking little steps, and finding their resistance along the way and moving through it to the next level and moving through it to the next level. But to me, I'm so inspired by what I see in that world. So, you know, I know that there's times where people are triggered by what they see others doing, or they feel like they compare themselves to it, or they see themselves as not good enough because they're not living up to these standards that someone else is setting. But to me, I use it as inspiration. To, you know, when I look at it, I say to myself, what's possible for me? If this is possible for them, this is possible for me too. My ability to lead is only as strong as my willingness to challenge myself, to stretch, to move through resistance, to move through the discomfort into that higher version of myself. And I know that that higher version of myself is who I am already, but I'm stopping myself because there's a part of me that's afraid, or there's a part of myself that I've carried for years that resists doing these things. And in order to kind of transcend that and step into that higher self, I need to be willing to look at it and to acknowledge it and say, I'm holding myself back here. I can see it clear as day. I'm saying that I want to achieve this or create this in my life, or I want to have this level of impact, but then I'm playing small. You know, I'm doing these things. You know, so little things that others do can be a source of inspiration, can be a source of guidance, can be a source of a light bulb for you as to how you dream of showing up in your own business and in your own life. So those are just some examples, I guess, of people who, you know, and I guess an activity or a helpful exercise that you can do, you know, through writing down just some names of people that inspire you and that really help you see that higher version of yourself, writing them down and then thinking about, well, what is it about them? What is it about how they're showing up that really inspires me? You know, when you choose to lead, you're always going to be inspired by other people. You're always going to not necessarily be led by them, but be inspired by them to see what is possible. And so it can be really helpful to kind of give yourself a bit of an activity like this where you flesh it out a little bit and you see, well, what is it about them that inspires me, and how can I draw on that to inspire myself to lift to that higher level, to operate at that higher level, and to lead myself through any resistance which comes up along the way. One of the things that really always helps me, and it can get me through any resistance ultimately when I settle into it, which is to make the mission that we're on be as important, actually more important, important enough to be more powerful than any fear or doubt or worry or uncertainty or lack of clarity or lack of connection that stands in your way. Because when that mission is really powerful for you, when your vision of the impact that you're leaving, the difference that you're making, the way in which you're serving other people, when you allow that to be the biggest thing for you, then your own resistance, your own internal beliefs, barriers, fears, worries become irrelevant, really, because you're motivated to move through them. You're motivated to acknowledge them and nurture yourself and be kind, whilst also saying, you can do this. You can do this. You can do anything. There is nothing stopping you. There is nothing standing in your way. And it's like that spirit within you, that heart within you is leading you. It's leading you through anything that can come up along the way in order to create those dreams, in order to live that vision that you have of yourself and that impact that you're making at that grander scale than what that fearful part of you sometimes can see. So I hope that these ideas are helpful. I hope that this reflection process is helpful. I know that it's not easy. I know that working through resistance is one of the most challenging things that we can do, but it's also one of the most powerful, and it's also one of the things that enables us to be most ready to show up for others. When we've been able to lead ourselves through anything, then we're more likely to be able to feel that readiness within ourselves to lead others as well. And so by starting with that connection with your inner wisdom, by starting with that willingness to notice your own contradictions or the ways in which you're holding yourself back, the ways in which you're blocking or grabbing on, playing safe, playing small, the more that you can acknowledge those things and move through them, the more powerfully you'll be able to support others that are struggling with those same issues. The more powerfully you'll be able to, be authentic. You'll be able to be congruent in the way that you're not only supporting yourself, but you're supporting others as well. So I hope that these ideas have been helpful to you. If you would like a little bit of extra support around this, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is coaching@emilywilkes.com. You might also find my Spiritual CEO PDF really helpful. I have created a PDF which has 10 spiritual concepts that can really help you lead your business from your spirit and to create miracles in your business. So I will leave the link for this in the show notes. So if it's something that connects with you, it's something that you would like to do more of in your own business, in your own life, then click on the link and sign up, and you will receive the PDF straight away. And you will also be able to kind of connect with me anytime you like on the email, to kind of just reach out and say, I'm really struggling with this. I'm more than happy to kind of reach out and give you resources that are helpful. I've got lots of videos and those sorts of things. So please don't hesitate to reach out if this sort of leadership or this willingness to approach some of that more difficult stuff brings up challenges for you. I'd be very happy to kind of support you on that journey. All right, thank you so much for listening. I hope that it's been helpful. I look forward to speaking with you next time. Until then, take care.